Welcome back to Sometimes Love Isn't Enough. I am your host, Angie Grant, and today I am bringing back my guest podcast. And so today I have just a beautiful guest. Her name is Lisa Manzo. I actually just met her a few days ago, but we connected so quickly, and I wanted to share her brilliance with you. So welcome, Lisa.
Oh, thank you so much, Angie. Thanks for having me. I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have to tell you, I didn't really tell you this before, Lisa, but so so Lisa and I met because she has a podcast. It's called The Phoenix Mind. And when I saw the name of your podcast, I immediately thought it was about human design because there's something so human design tells this story that every 400-ish years, we as a collective group of humans go through an energetic shift. I mean, all animals, the the solar system goes through this shift. And we are currently going into our next 400-year phase, and it's the rising of the phoenix. And so when I read the name of your podcast, I thought, oh, I want to be a part of that and talk about that. And your podcast is not about human design at all. It is about, though, that same idea, right? Of like rising out of the ashes and becoming something new and beautiful, which is exactly what the era that we're moving into through when we look at life through the lens of human design. So I just found that like what triggered me to even say yes to your podcast wasn't correct, but it also was. So anyways, I'm so excited that you're here. So Lisa, we would love to hear a little bit about you and what led you here to where you are today.
What actually led me here was I didn't like the direction my life was going to, and I saw some parallels as my children were getting older, and I really looked at it and I said, I need to set a better example. Okay.
Mm,
Because I don't like the direction my children are going in. And even if consciously they're not seeing it, their unconscious mind is seeing it. And I need to change my life so they don't parallel my life because I'm so completely unhappy. This was like 7 years ago. I
yeah.
was miserable. And okay, and then it started on the journey of, well, what can I do to get better? The first thing I can do is stop drinking alcohol. Yay. 7 years, 7.5 years. So great. Yay. Okay. That wasn't enough. So now what can I do? And
Yeah.
that's when I started doing, I met somebody who was able to explain to me why I was feeling the way I was feeling. And once I understood how the mind works, and I said, oh, I can change this.
Yeah.
And it's as simple as that. And that's started the journey.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'd love to hear a little bit more about you said I somebody told you something that helped you realize that you had power over the way that you were thinking. I'd love to hear more about that, that kind of growth, that learning and how that impacted your parenting journey.
So my children were pretty much adults by that time. So they were, one was in like maybe 20, 22, and the other one was 25. So they're pretty much adults, but I also know they're still watching. And so I went to a personal development seminar because I know it's all about the mind, right? Am I going to change my thinking in order? So I need help with that because I don't know how to do that. So I went to a personal development seminar, and the person on the stage was teaching about NLP, neuro linguistic programming. And I was like, I watched her presentation and I was like, oh, I have to do this. I absolutely have to do this. So I paid for her course, and then to learn about NLP. And I liked it so much, I paid for the next course because I want to be able to teach it.
Yeah,
Because if I can I because I live it. So now that I'm living it, I want to share it with others. So now I'm teaching because I'm an NLP master practitioner, which just means I can teach it.
yeah. Yeah. So, okay, so I have to ask about NLP because I every week I host a class at a addictions recovery unit. Maybe I shared that with you. And in the class that I host there, we focus on a mindset concept and then we do some EFT tapping. And about every 3 or 4 weeks, somebody says, "Is this the same thing as NLP?" And I'm like, maybe, no, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I'm not certified. I'm not an NLP master because I don't even know what it is. And so I'm guessing that my listeners might have questions about it too. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure, I'm going to give you an overly simplified version, but neuro-linguistic programming, neuro, the brain, linguistic, the language, and programming. So we're using our language to program our brain. Okay, so words matter. All your words matter. And here, let me give you an example. Instead of saying, I'm depressed, right? Because then you're owning it. Any I am statement is a programming to your unconscious mind. So instead of saying I am, you say you have to add a word in there. I'm experiencing feelings of, because then your brain's not owning it. It's very
Oh,
important. We don't want to own any of those negative thoughts. I want to own all the positive thoughts. Hey, I'm happy. I'm
yeah.
feeling great today. And anytime we're feeling a negative thought, we're experiencing feelings of.
Oh, that's so interesting because I don't know if you know anything about EFT or
I know
tapping.
a little bit.
So, like I said, I host this class every week at this recovery unit, and so in the practice of EFT, we do say I wouldn't say I've well, actually, so I take whatever the real words are that the person is thinking, right? Whatever their actual thoughts are. So if their thoughts are, "I'm depressed," that's actually what we tap on. Or if their thoughts are, "I hate myself," that's what we tap on because those are their actual real thoughts. They're trying to create a situation where they're experiencing depression, or they're trying to create thoughts where they're trying not to hate themselves, but their reality here in this present moment is this negative feeling or negative thought, right? And so we tap on their actual real thoughts, and I often get pushback because the participants at this recovery center every day for 8 hours a day, they're going through all this psychotherapy and neurolinguistic programming to help them change their thoughts. And then I show up at 6 o'clock at night and I'm like, okay, even though I hate myself, and they're like, wait, what? We've been working so hard on saying the opposite. And the reason that we do that with EFT is because it is what they're actually thinking, and EFT helps them separate the two. So that idea of creating new language behind our negative energy or negative frequency words is such a interesting and beautiful concept that I hadn't actually thought of it that way. So thanks for sharing that.
So I read this book, and it's Mind to Matter by Dawson Church, right?
Mhm.
He's an EFT practitioner. So,
Yeah.
but
Yes.
in his book, he explains that there's only so much real estate up in your brain, right?
Mhm.
So if you're using all these negative pathways, you can reprogram your brain. And as you reprogram your brain, those roads get covered up,
Yeah.
right? And then something grows in its place, or you create a new pathway, and then that one's not used anymore, becomes obsolete. And I thought about that, and I'm like, that's actually really what happened in my brain, because I used to have so many negative thoughts all the time. And then I just worked on it, and I'm like, no, I don't want to, I want to think this instead. This is a better thought for me. And then if I can't think of a better thought, I'm like, hey, I'll ask somebody, hey, what would be a better thought to this? Because people love to give advice, so you can always get help. You can always get help. And so now, 7 years later, I know that not all of them, but a lot of those old pathways are gone because I've changed the thinking pattern. Like, I know as soon as I have a negative thought, I'm like, what's the better thought?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think oftentimes when I'm working with clients, they say like, yeah, this idea of, the mindset work, perhaps the EFT, that's lovely, but what do I do in the moment? And I think you identified it, but I'd love to hear more because my answer to them is you keep doing the work to keep changing your thoughts when you're not in the moments, we have to create a new pathway because your habitual way of thinking has been so well established. It's been there for decades. And so you can't expect that, oh, I learned a new concept. I learned how to create a new thought. And then the next time my child is screaming at me, I'm just going to instantly employ that new strategy, right? Like it doesn't work that way. So I'd love to hear your thoughts about how do you, yeah, how do you take this concept, this NLP, and apply it in real life with your kids?
Okay, so first of all, it's about being kind to yourself because everything starts with you. So it's about being kind to myself. And then first you'll set the intention. Okay, the next time this happens, this is my plan. Whether your plan is, I'm gonna count to 10 before I answer. So I give my self time to actually think about how to respond instead of reacting. What am I going to do? Am I going to take a breath? And it's about setting the intention before it, because you know it's going to happen, right? We all know kids frustrate us, life happens, we get upset. And if you have a plan for the moment, when the next time it comes up, your brain will say, wait, we have a plan. It'll
Yeah,
remind you. And
yeah,
we're not perfect, and it takes repetition. You know, if you don't do it the next time, okay, forgive yourself, move on, you're human. Just keep going and just reset the intention because eventually persistence pays off and your mind will give in.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and the one thing that I hear a lot from parents is that, well, I tried that new strategy and it didn't work. I tried to shift the way I was thinking and it didn't work. And I think you kind of hit it on the nose is that you're not going to get it right every time and just like brush yourself off, forgive yourself, try it again. We can't it's like we hold ourselves to this expectation that we learn something new, we're going to do it perfect moving forward. And we're never going to mess up. We're never going to bring back our old ways of, reacting. No way, right?
Oh, absolutely. So I people used to say to me, fall in love with the process. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Right. And I understood it when, like, after I'd gotten through it, I understood it. Fall in love with the process of helping yourself or fall in love with this because it's not going to be snap my fingers and I'm going to be cured and I'm going to be completely new person and completely fixed. And give yourself grace. So people I work with, they know they're not allowed to talk negatively around me about themselves. I'm like, no, we don't. And I'll tell them every time, we don't talk about ourselves that way. Maybe you did maybe you didn't do an action correctly, and you'll do better next time. But we're not going to say I'm dumb. We're not going to talk about ourselves that way. People know when they work with me, I'll just come right out and say it because I want them to be a better person. They know I do it out of love. It's not from any other perspective. And after, later on when we have a conversation, I go up to them, I say that because, what you were saying about yourself was incorrect because you do all these things fabulously. Why are you beating yourself up for just one little mistake that you made? We're all human. And it's a process for me. And I do the same thing for myself. I'll hear something come out of my mouth and my friends know, like if something that's not serving me comes out of my mouth, please stop me and make me aware of it because I'm not always aware of it. So we
Yeah.
have this agreement and we help each other. It was like, oh, that's probably not serving you. Maybe you should think of a new thought. So I wrote my friends into my healing because that's my tribe. The people that want to heal with me. That's my tribe. And if I
Yeah.
love you, I tell you. If we don't have that connection and you don't want that connection, I'll try one or two times. But after that, you're not my journey. I can try to help you, but if you're not willing to accept it, I need to let it go and do what I can for me and for the people that want help.
Yeah. 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 And to that point too, I think about this a lot when I'm working with couples, right? So sometimes it's just one parent that signs up to work with me. Sometimes that one parent drags along the other parent, and sometimes it's both parents. And, I will say, no matter what kind of configuration I'm working with, I will often say it is so key that whoever your partner is, whether it's your sister or your significant other or your mom, whoever your partner is, that it's so key that you um, ask them exactly as you said, ask them to give you feedback and that you be open to it. They're not trying to correct you or tell you that you're wrong, but people outside of us see things that we just can't see in ourselves. We know that to be true, right? Because we see other people, make mistakes or do great things that they are so unaware of too. And so to not only ask for that feedback, but then to be open to it and accepting of it, because sometimes it can feel harsh when somebody's telling us that we didn't do what we've been working so hard to do, right? It feels like, oh, I missed it again. But to have that gratitude that they care about you enough to tell you something that might be hard to hear so that you can keep growing. I love that.
Yeah, and remember we talked about giving ourselves grace because
Mhm.
we're humans. Humans are definitely not perfect. And my vision is if I'm growing and evolving, as long as I'm making progress, I'm doing great.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I um I had said that I wanted to peek at your human design, right? So when I was on your podcast, we were chatting just a smidge about how very passionate I am about human design, and you were like, I don't really know much about mine. So I don't want to like dig deep into yours, but I find it so fascinating as I have this conversation with you about just little things that I notice about your design. So in human design, we have 9 centers. They're related to the chakras. And when we have a center that's defined, it's our consistent energy. It's what we put out into the world. And anywhere we have a center that's open, it's what we're receiving from others. And you have 2 centers defined. I have 3. For those of us who have fewer centers defined, it means we're picking up a lot of energy from those around us. And it influences us. It influences the way we see the world. But the 2 centers that you have defined are your throat center and your G center. Your G center is your center for lovability and direction. And it's so interesting as I listen to you talk, because what I see is somebody who talks so very clearly about you're so consistent in the way that you talk about the direction you're going in, the direction you're going in. You're very much like, you know what, but we just keep moving forward and we give ourselves grace and we keep moving forward and we give ourselves grace. And it's like such um, a natural part of what you speak about. And then, like right next to our pictures here, I'm looking at your design and I can see it in your design. I just find it fascinating.
It is fascinating. It is.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so I would love to hear, you had said that once you started doing this work, you decided to be sober, but your kids were grown at that point. What I would love to hear, because I know that some of my listeners have adult children. I myself have adult children. I would love to hear, part of what you said was that you were modeling being the version of you. You were modeling how you wanted your kids to see you. Are there any other things that you did in your parenting relationship as you're parenting these adults? I'd love to hear how, if anything else shifted in your approach with your kids.
Oh yeah, lots of things because what then I started looking, really taking a look. Okay, what patterns did I recreate? Okay, I know the patterns I changed. I'm well aware of the ones I changed because I had to consciously focus on them. Yet we these things are generational. So then
Mm-hmm.
I started focusing after I got this knowledge and okay, what are some of the things I recreated that I want to change now?
Mm,
Okay. And one of them, so my parents were not affectionate in any way. No, there wasn't a hugging, loving household.
yeah.
Okay. And if you hear my parents' story, you would understand why. It's just, it's a generational thing. And I realized I'm not affectionate because it was never shown to me that kind of affection from a parent. So I shifted that. Like I started hugging and, and giving a kiss on the way out the door and just a genuine nice hug. And I will tell you, so parents, when you make this switch, your kids are going to look at you like you're insane. Who is this person? So
Mm-hmm.
just ignore it and just keep doing it because once they realize this is shifted and it's a permanent shift, then they'll be on board with it. But the new shift, they're going to be looking at you. who are you and what did you do with mom?
Uh-huh. Yeah. Oh, that's what a simple yet powerful shift that you made with your family. That's really cool.
I mean,
I oh, go ahead.
there's other shifts you can make, but I'm just saying, I asked myself, what am I recreating? There are other things I recreated that I work on too, but that was the one, that was the biggest one that always stood out for me. And I'm realized because we're wired for connection and we need that. So I'm their mom. I should be touching them and hugging them and showing them affection.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I it, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but I'm curious if you've had any conversations with your kids about the work that you've done, not only on yourself, but on your role as their parent.
Yes, we've talked about it. I talked about to my both of my children, and they're completely different individuals, and they receive information different ways, right? One of them is auditory, one of them is visual. So you have to give them information the way they receive it, which is such a whole other concept. That's also part of NLP.
Yeah.
And we had this conversation. So after a couple of weeks of me showing affection, I was like, I had the conversation. I said, look, I realized I was recreating something that would happen to me with you, and I wanted to shift it. And one of my children wants to talk about it in depth, and the other one is like, oh, okay. And it's fine both ways. So the one that wants to talk about it, yeah, we have in-depth conversations about it, and the other one wants to say, just wants to reap the benefits of it. That's fine too.
Yeah. Yeah. I've definitely had that same experience in my home that as I've been digging into mindset work and human design, one of my kids like wants all the books and wants to hear all the details, and the other one, not any of it, but lights up when I respond to them with what I know about what I've learned about them through human design, right? Like, for me to be able to say like, wow, this is really one of your special gifts. I love being a part of that. And, their face just lights up because it's true to them, right? So, yeah, our kids are so unique.
Oh, absolutely. They had a different, even though they grew up in the same household, they had different parents.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to my point too, I think I had shared this with you, but one of my kiddos is genetically different also, so that adds to the mix as well. But that's the one who's totally into all things human design. So, um yeah, I think you've shared so many great insights. Are there other things about your journey that you wanted to share with the listeners here?
You know, the yes, I used to beat myself up. I was merciless with myself and about so judgmental because I didn't get it perfect and I didn't get it right. And when I was able to shift, and I know I already said it, but it's so important, I want to say it again, that shift into giving myself grace and being kind to myself, I could be do the same thing for others. Because as judgmental I was on myself, I was that judgmental with other people. So when I was able to let it go for me, I was able to let it go for them, and I became a much happier person.
Yeah. Oh, I love that, and I think about, I'm always keeping in mind, the listeners, right? And I know how I know personally how easy it can be to just go down that rabbit hole of being so judgmental of our kids, every little behavior that they do, everything that they say, because it ends up being the thing that we see the most is the behaviors when we're struggling to connect with our kids. And as parents, we often want to figure out how to solve the behavior problem. But you just said it so eloquently that the solution to fixing our kids isn't about them at all. It's about starting with us and giving ourselves grace and being in a place of forgiveness and acceptance helps us with us first and then helps us show up so different for our kids too.
Oh, absolutely, it does. And the funny part about it is like you're working on this. and they absorb it just naturally because you're doing it and they're seeing it and they're seeing it's working. Even if
Hmm.
consciously they're not going to acknowledge it, unconsciously their mind is seeing it, they're understanding, and they're shifting as well. And I also want to say, you can't, people have to watch you go forward. And when they see that you're moving forward and you're continuing on this journey, they'll either follow you or they won't.
Hmm.
Okay. So they want you to take 10 steps or maybe 100 steps forward in order to see that it's working. And some people will follow you and some people won't. And you have to be okay with that because as you're growing, some people don't want to grow and you're going to have to leave them behind because you know what? They can always catch up later.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I know that I found that to be the hardest when I started doing this work was once my mind was open to my capacity, my ability to control my own thoughts, um, once I had that awareness, it's like this vast, I don't know, black hole opened where I was like, whoa, look at all the amazing stuff inside. And then I was like, why is nobody else in here? I don't understand. Like, why are you all not working on changing your thoughts? But they weren't ready. They weren't there. And, in some regards, they're still working on it. And that's okay. I get to decide to love them and, keep them in my life or not. But that's totally up to me. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. You said something that I was going to follow up on, and now it has just off it goes.
It floated away.
This is the fun of a on the fly conversation, right? Is that yeah, we just get to talk about what's mattering in the moment. Um, you have shared so much gold today, Lisa, so much that I think can really parents can, mill around with it, figure out how to implement it in their families. But I would love if you have one really practical thing that you would love for the listeners, like if they could do one thing starting today, what would that one thing be?
Yes. Focus on what your children are doing right and make sure to remind them regularly. Hey, you do that really well. Oh, you because we sometimes we tend to focus on what they're not doing right. But what about focusing on what they are doing right? Because when you focus on that, oh, I'm doing that good. What else can I do? Because
Hmm.
they like that feedback. So I will tell you, attention is attention no matter what, whether it's negative or positive. So let's give them the positive intention as much as possible. I know negative attention will come in there to protect them and all that, but positive attention is so necessary. And you just focus on all the things they do right.
Yeah, that's a great way to end this beautiful episode. So do you have anything going on coming up soon that you want to share with the listeners?
So this weekend, which is the September 20, or I think it's not this weekend, the one after, I'm going to be on a panel to speak. And I love passing along knowledge. And if anybody ever wants to talk to me, please feel free to reach out. May I tell them how?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you want to consult, it's www.bookwithlisanow.com. Really easy.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to give you 15 to 20 minutes of my time, and I would love to help you out. I loved helping people, and sometimes it's a quick conversation will just change somebody's life, and then some other people need more. So whatever it works out, it's all good.
Yeah. Yeah. So the panel is on September 27th,
Yes,
correct? Okay.
yes.
And if you send me the link, I'll get that in the show notes for the listeners. So any last words that you want to share?
Uh, be kind and graceful to yourself.
I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Lisa. It was such a pleasure having you here on the podcast. And to listeners, go find Lisa, say hi, check out her panel, and yeah, take care as well.
Thanks.